Bubba Wallace suffered an unfortunate dropout in the second elimination round in Charlotte, and it was mostly because of an accident he wasn't a part of. However, the 2311 racing driver did not let this one slide under the carpet, and he had a lot to say about NASCAR's decision and the controversial rule that actually ruined his race. After being fast for the entire weekend, Wallace was in competition to enter the top 8, but NASCAR has effectively stopped this from happening, which caused a severe reaction in the Alabama native driver. Whether or not he was in the right to react in such a way, it's up to you to tell, but it seems like Wallace got the support of the most important driver on the grid, and that driver spoke about this situation in particular. The Charlotte Motor Speedway was a race that Wallace had everything to race for, so with high stakes comes high responsibility. Although many anticipated he would struggle, due to the fact that this is a road course in its nature, which is Wallace's Achilles heel. Ever since the free practice on Saturday started, Wallace has put on a show for his fans and the entire NASCAR world. After being fastest on Saturday, Wallace managed to qualify 4th for the race, and during the first stage of the race, the 2311 racing driver was P2. The second stage has also gone heavily in his favor, with him finishing P7, but unfortunately nothing could have prepared him for what came next. The crash between Daniel Suarez and Austin Cindric. For the first time in quite a while, Wallace was part of a crash and it wasn't his fault. But more importantly, NASCAR forced him to enter the pit stop due to a rule that basically forces drivers to do so even though the crash is not their fault as a penalty, and that makes them lose time. What is this rule anyway? In short terms, every driver is forced to enter the pit lane due to the fact that he was collected in a melee and was spinning through the chicane. Although he was nothing more than an innocent passenger, rules are rules, and every driver must abide by them, and in this case, they require the driver to halt on the front stretch if they miss the entry on the backstretch chicane, regardless of whether they are gaining an advantage on the track or not. Now, we all know Bubba Wallace and we all know his temper, and although he has grown massively as a driver, it's evident that his reactions toward this rule has not, and would not be a calm one. When elaborating on this matter, Wallace didn't hold back words, as he went on to say, "Honestly, it's such a BS rule. I lost so much track position, and I didn't completely come to a stop, but I got blown through the chicane. So I just thought I'd keep the momentum up and get back going, fall back in line, and we can go race out from there. But we had to stop on the front stretch. We're the only series that does that ass backward, so not surprised. They don't care. They love the entertainment factor and screwing somebody else. I need to work on that and put ourselves in better spots to not get wrecked. I'm honestly surprised no one's walked up and said, 'Sorry, that's kinda BS.'" It's very strange to see and hear Wallace blaming no one but himself for his poor position, even though this might be one of the first times he has no one else to blame but the others. But as Wallace said it best, it's fate, and you can do nothing more about it. Be that as it may, Wallace finished 16th due to this altercation, and with only 9 points to his name, he was eliminated with Busch, Chastain, and Keselowski. It also hurt a bit more for Bubba because his teammate Tyler Reddick managed to enter the top 8 and is currently 7th in the standings. But even with such bad circumstances, Wallace is not complaining about the season he and his team currently had. Many did not see him even making the playoffs after the slump in performance he suffered from in the second half of the season, let alone survive an entire elimination round. But Wallace has proven that his place is right here in this sport, and his maturity goes on to emphasize that to a further extent. Of course, it's always interesting and controversial when Wallace is involved in crashes, especially when he is overreacting like he did last year in Vegas by pushing and shoving Kyle Larson during the Coca-Cola 600 race this year, when he showed the middle finger to Eric Almirola in a friendly manner. But now, nobody could have expected him to act in such a calm manner, and moreover, it seems like he has finally been able to gain the trust of Denny Hamlin, the owner of the Toyota he drives in 2311 Racing, as the JGR driver has gone on to say a lot of positive stuff about Bubba's race. Wallace turned 30 years old in the previous week, and it goes to show that his maturity might just be on time. But even for a driver who has had his fair share of struggles to keep up with the car on the track and race clean, the circumstances under which he was eliminated are definitely not something you would recommend even to your fiercest rival. The fact that Wallace has gone on to show how much potential he has behind his name by adapting very quickly to the road course events is just proving to everybody why the pressure he feels on his shoulders is nothing more than pure motivation for him. There is, however, a certain limit to where motivation can take you. And in this particular instance, it seems like Wallace has not been able to prove that he has superhuman powers because of NASCAR's rule that many other drivers have previously dubbed as silly. The stakes in this race were much higher than any other normal venue, so it's obvious that Wallace's reaction should be a fierce one. Still, he managed to impress everybody with his calmness after the race, and how he did not get into a fight with any of the drivers who took him out. Elaborating on this matter, as well as how he is satisfied with the outcome of the season, Wallace went on to say, "Gotta keep continuing to work. I don't think we're in a winning car yet, but we're light years ahead of where we were a few races ago. 10 years ago, I'd be ready to punch something. I guess that's maturing and growing up, and accepting the fate. I mean, it wasn't meant to be. I'm a big believer that everything happens for a reason. Bummed, but I accept that it just wasn't meant to be. Being at peace with the trials and tribulations is a weird thing. 30, is that you? Appreciate the birthday love and the continued support. Y'all be safe. We weren't supposed to be here according to a lot of the public, but we proved them wrong, and then proved a lot of people in the garage wrong that you can actually count on the number 23 at a road course race. I'm pumped for our season. It's not over yet. I'm really excited for next week in Homestead and Martinsville. Phoenix, I might just go on vacation, but we've still got 4 races to go out and do it." These are the words that actually touched Denny Hamlin as well, and although he was very critical of the performance of Bubba in the past couple of races, he now couldn't help but recognize the maturity and growth in the 30-year-old's behavior. Obviously, there's nothing more Bubba could have done because, at the end of the day, it's not his fault that NASCAR's rule stands as it is, and with the sport being silent on whether or not they are going to apply some changes to it. It seems like Wallace will be left with nothing but pure hope that the sport might actually start to change for the betterment of the drivers. Elaborating on the entire situation in Charlotte, Denny Hamlin was not happy with the aftermath Wallace has exited the situation from, as he went on to say, "He got the crap end of the stick. Most people that get knocked into a situation where they didn't make the corner because they got knocked around, it's a double bad deal for them, but it happens for sure. That was a bad deal. Daniel just blew the corner and hit the number 2, and the number 2 hit A, and A hit B, and C spun out. It's just like a ricochet of cars when you get down there, and someone misses it, it just causes complete havoc. Bubba obviously got the tail end of that deal, so that was unfortunate. Regardless, the ball is now in NASCAR's court, and they are the ones that need to react as soon as possible to prevent situations like this from happening in the foreseeable future. The season is not over yet, and while Wallace had lost a serious amount of good due to this rule and it effectively cost him a shot in the top 8, the ones who got ahead are now very endangered to suffer from the same situation that Bubba did, only with much bigger consequences on the way. Still, we'll side with Wallace, and we'll accept that everything in this world happens for a reason, and for Bubba to finish in the best 12 drivers in NASCAR in 2023 is definitely a massive achievement for him, considering the fact that he had not won a race all season, as he finished the regular season with 8 top 10 finishes in the 32 starts he had. What do you think about that silly rule that made Bubba lose so much ground and see his playoff hopes effectively being ruined? Let us know in the comments below. And once you do that, make sure to like our video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on those notification posts.